Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review and in all honesty, a bit of a rant on the 2005 direct-to-video action film, Today You Die. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Thomas for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you'd like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. The link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, Today You Die is yet another lame, unexciting, mostly boring direct-to-video action film starring Steven Seagal. This is from the time period when he was doing pretty much nothing but direct-to-video movies while he was gorging himself on bags of cheeseburgers and KFC. And the laziness from Seagal and pretty much from everyone involved is on full display when it comes to this movie. It's directed by Don E. FauntLeRoy, which sounds like a made up name, but apparently it's the guy's real name. And he's directed all kinds of things. He's collaborated with Victor Salva on a bunch of films, which that's pretty shitty. So yeah, he's collaborated with Victor Salva on Jeepers Creepers and Jeepers Creepers 2 as like a camera operator. And he's directed films like Mercenary for Justice with Steven Seagal, Anaconda Offspring, Anacondas 4, Bearing Sea Beast, Stolen, A Ring for Christmas, Altered Reality, which he actually directed this year in 2024. Oh, and he also did a film called Urban Justice with Seagal, which honestly, I don't mind Urban Justice. So that's like the one film that I could think of off the top of my head that this guy has done that was at all decent. Everything else has been mostly dreck and mostly crap. And this film is no exception. Today You Die It. So the direction in this is at best average. At worst, it's pretty far below that. And it's hard to really judge this film visually because there's so much stock footage in it. I mean, there's an entire chase in Vegas with an armored car that is just stock footage from Top of the World with Peter Weller. There's also other sequences from The Order with Van Damme that are copied and pasted into this movie, as well as an entire prison scene from Undisputed. So it's kind of hard to really look at this film and look at his visual style. But I mean, you can definitely tell when it comes to the scenes that Donnie Fauntleroy directed versus the scenes that the other directors did for those other three films. It's pretty obvious and it's very glaring. A lot of the scenes that just involve characters talking to one another is really a bottom of the barrel in terms of the quality of them. They're shot in ways that they're just very uh, lethargic looking. They just don't really have a lot of energy to them, and they're very reminiscent of other direct-to-video cheap jack horseshit kind of films. So the direction doesn't do anything to elevate these scenes. And when it comes to action sequences, that's where this guy is okay. He can shoot some shotgun fun in an adequate fashion, or like a shootout between two groups of thugs in a way that is somewhat exciting or had packs somewhat of a punch. But a lot of the time, he's working with blanks. Like there are moments where he can, get a shot off and it can leave its mark, but then there's other moments where it's just shooting blanks and it's just not really that effective or not really that good when it comes to the direction or his framing or his shot selection or the camera techniques that he's using. Um especially when it comes to a lot of stuff involving Seagal, because I don't know if it's Seagal himself that forced these limitations upon the director. I wouldn't be honestly surprised if that was the case, considering Seagal and the kind of guy that he is. But it's really difficult for him to shoot a lot of scenes with Seagal when it comes to like a shootout or an action scene, because Seagal just is not willing to do the fights himself. He's not willing to do a lot of extra choreography. So that leads to a lot of limitations the director has to deal with because of Seagal's lazy fat ass who doesn't want to do shit on set. So I can't really get too upset or too pissed, so to speak, about the quality of direction from Donnie FauntLeRoy, because he has to deal with Steven Seagal and his stubborn fat ass for the majority of the production. Now, the script, on the other hand, I can definitely take aim at. It's written by Kevin Moore, and this is one of those screenplays where you definitely don't want more of it. Like it's that kind of a script where you're like, please, no more of this shit. It deals with this Robin Hood type character named Harlan, who's played by Steven Seagal, who's a thief who steals money and gives it to the poor. But his girlfriend, who also is psychic for some reason, she is wanting him to get out of the business. And so he ultimately does, and he thinks he gets a legit job working for an armored car company. And then his armored car winds up getting robbed, and then he gets framed for what happens. There were some guards who got shot during the robbery, and the guards deaths wind up getting pinned on Harlan, and this is a problem for Harlan and also a problem for the local children's hospital, St. Joseph's Children's Hospital, because it's going out of business. And normally I wouldn't laugh at that because what am I, some kind of sadistic bastard? But the reason why I'm laughing at that is because of how that's presented in this script and in this movie. There's a shot of the sign for the children's hospital, and it has this yellow paper sign that's taped over it that the producers printed off at Kinko's or some shit, and it says going out of business. And it cracks me up because I'm like, that would never be there. Like, why would you even need to have a going out of business sign on a children's hospital? Like, you just show the doors being closed or something. You don't have to have a going out of business sign. When you put a going out of business sign on the sign for the children's hospital, it makes it seem like the children's hospital is going to have a closeout sale. Everything must go at the St. Joseph's Children's Hospital. The hospital beds, the medical equipment, even the children. Everything is getting wholesaled. Everything is 50 to 70 to 80% off. We'll give you some children for free. Please don't miss it. The closeout sale at the St. Joseph's Children's Hospital. So that to me is just absolutely ridiculous. I will admit though, that cracked me up and I got a little bit of entertainment out of this dumb script just for that moment alone. As well as other things that were not scripted, like when you have multiple scenes throughout this movie where Seagal will be either fighting somebody or getting on a zip line, and it's not Seagal. It's some other body double. So like there's a scene where there's this guy who suits up and he puts on some goggles and like a black suit with like a mask and everything, and he's getting ready to zip line to another building because he's on this other building. He's getting ready to zip line to the other building, and you're like, who is this guy? He's like 100 pounds, like 150 pounds or something. He doesn't look anything like Seagal, doesn't have Seagal's build. And then it cuts to Seagal like opening the door and going into the room, and I'm like, so this guy who's like 150 pounds and doesn't have a punch, doesn't have a gut, isn't 250 plus pounds, that's Seagal? Sure, sure it is. And it gets more and more laughable throughout the rest of the movie because he can't even do his own fights because there's multiple scenes that involve a lot of fight choreography that is just some fight double with a shitty wig, and it's shot from behind, and it's clearly not Seagal. So there'll be some stuff that's cut in that'll make it look like it's Seagal doing it, but if you pay attention, you can clearly see that it's not Seagal who's doing these fights. So he's so lazy he can't even fucking do his own fights. Are you fucking kidding me, man? And so he can't do his own fights because he's so lazy or out of shape or both. So there's fight doubles. So it takes you out of the movie whenever that happens, and the plot isn't much of anything. It's just another one of those plots that involves somebody who gets double crossed and screwed over, who gets sent to jail and then escapes and then wants revenge. That's it. That's your plot for Today You Die. There's also some corruption going on in the FBI. So there's this corrupt FBI agent named Saunders who's in a lot of ways behind everything. So he's trying to take out Harlan, Seagal's character, as well as this other gal who works for him, an FBI agent, Rachel Knowles, because she knows too much. So he's trying to take her out. But she's also trying to figure out his place and everything that's going on. There's this guy named Max who is kind of hinted at as being into black magic, but you never see him do anything with it except play a piano and what looks like a meeting room for the satanic church. But it doesn't do anything. He doesn't do any spells. There's no sacrifices. There's no mass hysteria. There's nothing. He just plays the piano, and I guess his character was supposed to be dead for most of the movie, but he's not because he actually is working for witness protection and is on the payroll of FBI agent Saunders. And there is some other stuff as well involving this convict named Ice Cool. And yes, that's his name, Ice Cool, complete with a K. Get it? You know, because of iced tea, but it's Ice Cool. And that's the character who's played by Treach. And he befriends Harlan when Harlan gets sent to jail because he's framed for the robbery, uh, uh, which happened in Vegas. And this other guy set him up and stole the money from the armored car. But then I guess Harlan still kept the money. And I'm like, well, okay, you got framed for murder, but you still stole the money, so you're still a criminal. You still deserve to go to jail. Um, but yeah, he goes to jail, but he gets broken out of jail with the help of Ice Cool, and then Ice Cool and Harlan then join forces to take out the guys who set up Harlan, and it's just as exciting and as fun as it sounds. There's also a random moment where an Asian gang shoots up an Irish gang. I think it's an Irish gang, and it just seems like it's there for padding, just another excuse to have some kind of gunplay. Because there's a lot of moments in this where there's not really a ton of action, there's not really a ton of things to really get that excited for, or really find to be that intriguing. Like I said, the black magic stuff, the guy Max being into the dark arts, that's never really looked into that much. That's never really focused on in any sort of great detail, except him saying some vague things like he really gets off on the suffering of children and the loss of innocence. So I guess he's the one that is responsible for the children's hospital going out of business. All right. But you establish this guy as this main villain, and then he winds up getting killed in the most anticlimactic way possible. He just steps into his helicopter, and it gets blown up. And then you have this finale in a warehouse, of course. Uh, and it deals with Agent Saunders and Agent Knowles, and Agent Saunders trying to kill Agent Knowles, but Seagal's character Harlan shows up just in time to save her, along with Ice Cool, and they take out Saunders and the rest of his remaining men, and they save the children's hospital, and everyone lives happily ever after. And I'm just like, cool. Why? Why is there any reason to give two shits about these characters, let alone anything that's happening? It's not like it's got a ton of action in it. It's not like the action that's there is really that exciting, except for scenes they ripped completely out of other movies. Like even the final explosion, like the finale, that's a shot from a different movie. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's a shot from The Order. Yeah, it is. It's a shot from The Order with Van Damme when the building blows up at the end. And you could tell that it's not from this movie because they have some really shitty green screen at the end with Seagal and pals while they're standing in front of the explosion. And like I said, it seems like it's gonna have some sort of supernatural bent because Seagal has a girlfriend who has visions, supernatural visions. Her name is Jada, but they do nothing with that. Except have a very awkward opening credit scene that makes it seem like there's something wrong with the disc or the movie while you're watching it because it just stops and it just starts and then it just stops suddenly. You'll have a scene start for the opening credits, and then it'll just freeze frame, and it makes it seem like the disc is skipping, or there's something wrong with the movie, and there is something wrong with the movie because there's a lot wrong with the movie, but that really makes you think that there's some sort of technical difficulties involving the disc if you have this movie on Blu-ray or DVD, but it's just some dumb editing choice. There's a lot of unfunny attempts at comedy too, in terms of lines of dialogue. Like Treach will say some stuff, and Seagal he will have some scenes with Treach where he's trying to be funny, and it's just cringe inducing to watch. There's such winning lines like "same shit, different toilet." That's the kind of one-liners you can expect, and you get to enjoy when it comes to Today You Die. There's even a bit where Treach he winds up shooting Agent Saunders, kills him because Agent Saunders shoots him in the shoulder, and then the script has him do the whole "oh hell no motherfucker" and then shoots him, and you're like, really? And it's just one of those screenplays where, like I said, there's next to nothing to this. There's a vague thing about a Robin Hood plot, this Robin Hood character who steals money or steals diamonds and then gives to the poor, the thing with the children's hospital, and the corruption within the FBI, and then the stuff involving Treach and his character Ice Cool in prison, befriending Harlan. So it's like one part Robin Hood clone or ripoff, one part lame, boring prison movie, one part buddy cop slash revenge action aneurysm, or just pile of shit. And nothing really comes together in a satisfying or really that fun fashion. The most fun you can have with this is if you're just enjoying it for how bad some scenes are. Like how bad Seagal's acting is in some scenes, the obvious fight doubles, the acting from other actors in the cast like Treach. Uh, Other than that, there's really not a lot to enjoy, let alone to find to be that fun to watch about this movie. The cast, I mean, this is not a good cast by any means. I mean, Steven Seagal, once again, it seems like he is just doing this for the tacos. Like this is not really a performance that is up there with some of his best. Just really sleepwalking through each scene so he can sneak off the set and sneak in another turkey leg. Treach is ice cool. At times, his line delivery is really bad. At other times, it's kind of okay. He's trying to have some fun with it, and so at points, I can kind of have a little bit of fun with his performance, but it's not what I would consider to be like good acting. It's very average, but he's got some charm, and he is trying to inject some extra energy or life into it. And there are some scenes with him and Seagal where the two kind of have some okay chemistry, but they're not really featured together a whole lot, other than some moments in the prison and some stuff after they get out. Sarah Buxton as Rachel, she's a very attractive lady, but she's not a good actress. Like she's got porn star actress levels when it comes to her acting ability. It's not good. She's a pretty woman, but her acting isn't so pretty. Mary Morrow, I thought was better as Jada, but she had no chemistry with Steven Seagal. I did not buy that her character was romantically involved with or at all in love with Harlan, Seagal's character. Nick Mancuso is a corrupt FBI agent. Plays a good asshole, so I'll give him that. Another actor who plays a good asshole is Kevin Tighe, but his character is pretty much a nothing role. But it was nice to see Kevin Tighe though, because I like him. He was in Tales from the Crypt and this the segment Cutting Cards. He was also, of course, one of the villains in Roadhouse. I've always liked Kevin Tighe as an actor, so it was nice to see him, but it was in a wasted nothing role. You also have Chloe Grace Moretz before she was Hit Girl as Little Girl, who is this girl who is staying at the children's hospital, who Seagal meets up with at the end of the movie and tells her that she's going to be okay and gives her like this necklace. So that's kind of fun. You get to see Chloe Grace Moretz in a very early role. But yeah, not really that great of a cast or that much of a cast. There's some other people too. Like there's some actors who you might recognize. Like Leslie Ann Down plays a bank manager in a small role. Randy Couture plays a bodyguard of one of the bad guys. You have Jerry Trimble, who is a martial artist. He plays a member of Garrett's gang. Yeah, JJ Perry, who plays a thug. Um, and I'm just looking up the IMDb because there's an actor who plays one of the. He's like the head of the Tongs. You got Robert Miano who plays Bruno as well, the guy who screwed over Harlan. This guy's been in a lot of stuff. Like he did a lot of mob movies as well as films like Starfucker, because apparently that's a movie. That's a thing, a film called Starfucker. But yeah, this guy has got a long filmography. done a lot of things. Yeah, you got Hawthorne James, who plays a character named Derek. You might recognize this guy. He was Sam in Speed. He was one of the guys who was on the bus. Just looking up the cast and crew, because there's really not much in terms of trivia. I don't really have a ton else to say about this. So I just wanted to find this particular guy. James Liu. Yeah, it's James Liu, who is a stunt guy. He was one of the guy. He did a lot of stunt. He did stunts in Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, he was one of the guys in Big Trouble in Little China. So he's one of the gang members from that. That's where I remember him from. Is he was in Big Trouble in Little China. Now apparently there was a lawsuit involved with this movie. I guess that's kind of how it gets a little bit more interesting. Is that the producers of the film filed lawsuits against Seagal because of experiences during filming. Producers at New Image and Killmaster Productions alleged that Seagal, while filming this in Mercenary for Justice, he arrived at the set late, left early, rewrote scripts without the permission, among other things, probably having explosive flatulence. I mean, come on, he's eating all these cheeseburgers and all this KFC and all the Taco Bell. He probably had some really rank farts. However, Seagal disputed the suit and countersued against producers, claiming fraud and breach of contract. I don't know what wound up happening in terms of the resolution of that. I'm not going to say anything about cinematography because there's really not much to it. It's like barely like this is one of those films that's like barely even a movie because a good chunk of it is stock footage. Um, the editing though by Robert Ferretti was awful. It was a fail because it did a bad job hiding the fact that there's a fight double when it comes to a lot of not a lot, all of the fight scenes with Seagal. The shots of Seagal punching were awkwardly cut into those scenes in ways that was glaringly obvious. And there were other questionable editing choices, like quick cuts and slow-mo scenes that were just really laughably, ineptly tossed in there. And I can't say anything about the score because it's barely even there. It's barely even a thing. And yeah, it's like 90 minutes, but it drags because you don't care about the plot. It's not that engaging. There's not a lot of action. When the action is there and the explosions are there, it's stock footage from other movies. And it's not like it's that funny, except for like maybe a few bits here and there. So it's like this is, in my opinion, not good, but I will admit that there are other Steven Seagal direct-to-video movies that I definitely would say are worse than this. I'm saying a lot because this still sucks, but like this didn't upset me as much as something like Attack Force, for instance. This is just more of a forgettable, boring direct-to-video Seagal movie. But anyway, I don't really have anything else to say about Today You Die. Other than thanks for watching my review, and until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.